After I quit my job, I immediately felt better physically. However, mentally and emotionally, I was still in the dark because what happened to me, it happened over time, and the wound was so deep and it needed time to heal. But I know after since I cut the root cause of my burnout, things will only get better. Hi everyone, it's Findri again, and welcome back to my Burnout series. Thank you so much for some of you who watch all the episodes. Honestly, recording the first three episodes was so exhausting and challenging. I know I'm already healed in a way of like I'm already functioning to a normal phase before burnout, but I still can feel the emotional scars that I have to carry. Talking about that situation again, it's not hurting me, but it still have some impact on my emotional well-being. I hope you understand. But now let's talk about what happened after I quit the job and what happened with the German bureau crazy thingy. The most important thing you have to do as soon as you know you will be jobless, regardless whether you resign, your contract runs out, you get fired, or whatever the case is, you have to inform the job center. And you can do it online, or if you haven't registered, you can actually go to their office. If you have university degree, your job center representation would be the one in Berlin Mitte. Your data will be stored in job center Mitte, but the job center office in area that you live in will be in charge of your appointment, like talking to your Arbeitsvermittler or talking to advisor or whatever it is. Luckily, I was already registered online. They already have my data because back in 2018, I was laid off and I registered myself, but then I didn't get into the pace of joblessness. I was just registering myself as job seeker. And this time, I was truly entering the jobless phase. So I needed to do some research. Just usual question. What should I do? What kind of documents I have to prepare? And, things like that. So the first 2 weeks of my jobless era was busy of appointments and paperwork and things like that. I was emotionally a bit better in a sense of I felt already safe because I don't have to go to work. I don't have to be in that toxic environment anymore. And it helps a lot to be functioning. So I was still a functioning adult. That's why I was taking my time a bit to not confront my feelings and my emotion immediately because I was so nervous with all the paperwork, but it wasn't stressful, just so you know. Everything was okay. What I can tell you is that you have to appear as someone who is motivated, as someone who is not the forever jobless type of person, I would say that way. At the time that I resigned, I was sick and I told them about my neurologist, and she will be ready to help because you will be asked about what did you do to prevent this to happen? And then was there any effort from the company to solve my problem? And also, they will ask your doctor's statement. So it was quite easy. I just need to loop my neurologist, and she was very nice. Everyone in the neurologist office was very nice, and like I felt supported. I guess I was super lucky, and I'm so thankful for that. The first 2 weeks was just about setting the foundation that I am basically a job seeker. That's the term. But I was actually still sick. And this is something that I did wrong. I was supposed to be sick and getting the sick notes from my neurologist. But I was thinking, why do I need that anyway? Because I don't have any job. They were actually wondering if I was sick, where is my sick note? And I didn't understand the entire situation because for me, logically, I didn't have any work. And why do I need to provide sick note? Apparently, the sick note is important for the job center. It's a paperwork. It's a stupid rule that you just need to follow. So basically, if you resign and you are sick, you need to just get the sick notes from the doctor and then give it to job center. And that's the thing that I didn't do. So I still had a little bit like back and forth with them. And they also email me asking like, well, when you were sick, then where is the sick note? And then I told them, I'm sorry, I didn't know about this rule. So what should I do? And then they asked me to ask a sick note from my doctor, but it was for the past. And then my doctor was also a bit confused, and she was just like, but I already told them that you were sick. And I cannot just give the sick notes for the past sickness, which was also a bit like, what the fuck, Germany? Like, why do you make things so complicated? But anyway, it was the back and forth. It took actually 2 months. It could be faster than that if I was actually aware that I was to be proactive. Back then, I started to panic when I realized that my bank account wasn't in negative balance. So I just write them per email. I told them the situation and everything. Could you please speed up? It's actually possible if you want to ask any kind of government institution in Germany, ask them to speed up the stuff that you need. They could do it. And after I clarified everything, I actually got the money. After they approved the application, they gave me the money that I was supposed to get from 2 months ago. So no blocking time because I was sick. To those people who advise me to not quit my job, sadly, you are wrong. I know your intention was coming from a good place. But in this case, I was right to prioritize my health over anything else. The rest of the paperwork was about giving the impression that you are a person who will be getting job anytime soon. I prepared my newest resume and then like I told them how many companies that I applied for the past 2 months because I was already active anyway looking for a new job. So they saw me as someone who is proactive. So for the part of the German paperwork, bureau crazy stuff, it's done. And in the meantime, I started to try to feel how I felt because it was hard. When I popped the balloon, there was like some paper. These are paper with my emotion, overwork, and everything in here. So, like, I know that I have certain feelings and certain emotion that I have to work on. And I followed my intuition to go through this alone, not involving any therapist. But hear me out. When I tell people I don't do therapy, I got mixed reaction, mostly from Westerners are more kind of like, why? Why don't you just ask for help? It's very complicated matters. The thing is, I'm someone who is very logical. At the same time, I am very intuitive. I always fight my intuition with my logic. But during the burnout, my intuition beat the logic of I need to save myself even without any backup plan. I think my burnout was also some sort of spiritual awakening for me. I finally felt like I'm ready to listen to what my intuition wants me to know. What I felt back then is that I can go through this alone. I had no logical explanation why, but I knew I can do it by myself. Some people see it as weakness, some people see it as bravery. For me, this case is actually a bravery and also self sufficient because I know my limit and I already have experience with mild depression. So, a little bit of psychological and cultural lessons, maybe. Back in 2018, I was diagnosed for the first time in my life of having mild depression. It was because of, again, emotional stress. It was with my ex boyfriend family back then. And I ended up in a hospital. And the diagnosis was I have a mild depression. And you know what? The physical symptom? I couldn't even open my palm. So basically, I had a trauma in my body. And then I was referred to my GP. My GP told me that no matter how strong you are, at some point, strong people also experience a breakdown. And he told me, I know that you're strong, but this time you feel maybe a bit weak. It's not bad. That's normal. And he was very cultural aware. In fact, that I'm Indonesian, I'm coming from the Eastern world where family togetherness, gathering is the norm for us. And in the Western world, you guys kind of live and grow up in certain individualistic way. So if you have problem, you would probably tell a professional, in this case is therapist. My GP back then asked me, am I going to see my family or not in Indonesia? And he said, if you are going to see your family, it's great to talk to people there because that's what therapy is here in the Western world. But he also told me if I want to talk to someone privately and in a professional manner, he gave me also some contact. One of them is Kristen Deans in Berlin, and I actually visited one of them. And I met a Russian woman who was a very good listener. The way she offered her ears to me and her advice was not telling me what to do, but she was telling about her life story to me. And I immediately felt empowered. So maybe because of that experience in the past, and then in 2023, when I had a burnout, my subconscious told me that I can go through this alone because I can. Yeah, that's the reason why I didn't go to therapy. Also, I know the majority of Western people would probably prefer to go to therapists, which is not wrong, but this is also another thing you have to understand. If someone experiences mental breakdown, burnout, or whatever it is, you cannot push them to go to therapy. Someone should have the need to get help themselves. And I knew I didn't need help because I knew what to do. I tried to follow my intuition. And I was right. I did it. But thank you so much for all of you who remind me of, like, why don't you get help and so on. But it was, in a way, it was my spiritual journey too. A bit out of context, but just so you know, so you could understand that I am not against any modern therapy. No, I am very logical person, but I also have a very strong intuition that at that time have saved me from the environment that was very toxic for me. So I owe myself to finally listen to my heart. So, what happened then mentally, emotionally, and physically to me after I quit? Like I said, my migraine, the frequency was reduced and the intensity was also reduced, but I was still taking my medication and extra medication too. But mentally and emotionally, I was not in the right place. And I knew I wasn't. I felt it. I would say I'm someone who is by default happier than average people. I would say that way. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to make other people bad or no. I'm just trying to explain that I have some sort of what I call a sunshine in me. When I wake up in the morning, I have that warm feeling, glow, no matter how dark the weather is in Berlin here. I have the drive. Oh, I'm going to wake up, do my job, and today I'm going to do this and that. But for some time, this sunshine in me, it was gone. I woke up to a what I describe as a dark day. I didn't see the sunshine anymore. I didn't feel the warmth and the glow inside me anymore. It was like that for quite some times and it was scary for me. I would say maybe I was lost in a way of waking up to an empty heart. I just felt like I didn't have the mind and body connection thing. It was gone from me. But just so you know, even though I was in a depression state of mind, I never had the feeling to unalive myself or to harm myself. I did actually a behavioral chart of myself to psychoanalyze me because I'm a designer. So I just map my own behavior pattern. So I kind of describe myself of like, okay, this is where I am and where I supposed to be. So like things like that until finally I felt like I'm ready to confront my feeling. But it was hard for me to start with because I didn't have the drive in me, the sunshine in me was gone. Maybe I could say I was walking with an empty battery, like my soul was empty, so to say. But I didn't have any self harm or whatever it is. So at that time, I didn't need any help because I was confident I can go through this alone. After only a few weeks, I finally refused to feel miserable, if that makes sense. I was like self talk to myself and telling myself, bitch, this gotta stop. This is not cool. My kind of self love treatment is table for one, food for two type of thing. So I decided to go to my favorite Chinese restaurant here in Berlin. At that time, I actually shut down my world. I refused to see people. I didn't talk to people a lot because I need to process everything. I know people who love me was worried about me, but they kind of understand too that I need to process some shit in my head. But to have the thought of I'm gonna go on a solo date, eating my favorite Chinese food and some chicken feet, it made me so happy. Apparently, I was right. That feeling of I gotta treat myself and, feeling good about myself, it was actually a really good start of something greater. It involved love. I know you guys are so curious about my love life, which is not existing. But this time, it did involve a love story. But it's not about the love story thing. It's about how love actually the drive that I need to go through life. I'm a Libra, so love is my thing, and falling in love is as easy as eating chicken wings for me, okay? So this is a love story, but it's not a love story. It's about healing process. I think I can explain it as it is the Disney type of love I've never experienced before. Like the irrational type of connection because I don't really believe in that before, but it happened to me and it felt amazing. However, I also noticed my behavior, which is also the result of my burnout. I needed so much validation, including from him. And I didn't realize that until everything fell apart. But I took the lesson from that. So let's go back to the love story part. So, that I woke up to nothing, basically. I couldn't see myself in that sunshiny feeling mood anymore. But then when I saw him, when I looked into his eyes, into his pretty face, I saw my own reflection. I saw who I am, what I could be, what's my purpose, and everything. And it was for the first time in my life I experienced things like that that is irrational to my mind. But again, I'm following my intuition with a big note that I was so much looking for validation even from people who doesn't even know me. Why do I need a validation? That was weird. And with so high oxytocin in your body, I am good again. I felt good again back then. And I went back to Berlin. And then, things crash basically because that's my pattern of like, I fell in love really easy. Like I fly high and then like, boom, it's just like crashing a plane nose deep into the ocean, probably. It was good actually to feel that way because I don't like the state of falling in love in uncertainty. It's like, bitch, do you want me or do you want me not? Like it's better to be like, okay, I don't want you, then I'll be okay and I'm dealing with my own situation. So it was great that it didn't work and I needed to work on myself too. But the point is from that meeting, I saw something that was alarming to me, that I needed so much validation. That thing is something that I have to work with and to solve. Of course, it's not an easy process, but I'm glad through meeting the Disney type of love I've never had in my life, I realized something that I had to do. I wrote down one thing that I needed validation, but why? Where this come from? Realizing that I needed so much validation, even from someone that just met me, that's something that I need to investigate further because it doesn't sound like me. I do feel like I like validation. I like to hear that people likes my thing, likes my food or whatever it is, but this time it felt different. It felt like it comes from a different forces. The good thing is after I met my Disney type of love, I kind of felt I was charged emotionally and mentally. So I was able to start processing everything that I feel, like, like overwork and I don't know if you can read like everything that is written on the red cards, including like not feeling appreciated and everything. So I was able to sort them into words, into complete sentence, what makes me feel bad. So to summarize, back then I didn't know what's the term for me, but it turned out that I am someone who is operating in a higher vibration, which means I have more energy than average people in a normal state. So I can some kind of radiate energy to other people. That's why even during my hardest time of feeling depressed, I didn't have the thought of harming myself or unaliving myself that way. But I am most likely unaliving someone else. And that's something that was actually gone from me because, like I said, my natural response to something not nice was always anger. Anger is always on the top. And on top of the anger, that's the feeling of I'm gonna unalive someone. That's me. And that situation, I didn't have enough energy to be angry because my energy level was so low. But thanks to my Disney type of love guy, I was able to boost myself to think about my situation. That's all, I guess, for this episode. And in the next episode, I will talk more about my coping mechanism because I don't do this thing with a therapist, but with my own method. But please don't see it as something that I told you to not go to therapy. That is so wrong. If you know you need help, you have to go. But if you know you can go through it alone, like me, then do it. It's not just like talking that I can go through this myself, but then you don't do anything about it. That is wrong. So please don't take my experience as something that you have to do. Just see it as a reference. How did I do it? Take something good that you can learn from me. If there's nothing you can learn from, ignore it. It's okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and maybe share it to your network so that we can prevent burnout from happening to other people. Thank you.